With the parents of the victims of the Parkland shooting behind him, Governor Rick Scott signed the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School Public Safety Act.
Viewing the entire bill, I had to ask myself, will this bill make a huge investment and dramatically improve school safety in hopes of never seeing another tragedy like this again? Will this bill provide more funding to treat the mentally ill? Will this bill give far more tools to keep guns away from people who should not have them? The answer to all three is yes. And that is why I'm signing the legislation today.
10 Investigates' Noah Pransky has been talking with lawmakers all throughout this process, and this bill does not come without critics.
No.
And that really includes the NRA.
Yeah, they were hammering Scott today after he signed it. I mean, the governor was in a tough spot. He's going to run against Bill Nelson for Senate later this year, so he's got to appeal to both parties. And this is a bill that both parties hated. It's often a sign of a good compromise, right? The NRA hates it because it raises the age of buying an assault rifle, or any rifle actually, from 18 to 21. And then you have teachers and parents who hate it for bringing more guns into school. But at the end of the day, the governor did sign this bill because he said that it was a compromise and a fair compromise. And again, when you have both sides criticizing it, maybe it's a sign that it actually was a fair compromise. So the NRA afterward came out and just bashed the governor for caving to special interests, as they said. And then the governor said it was necessary, though, to pay for safety improvements to school buildings as well as mental health counselors. And even though he said he objected to funding concealed weapons training for adults in schools, he didn't veto that line item, as many thought he would.
However, there are things in this bill that I oppose, and I've been pretty open about that. I still think law enforcement officers should be the ones to protect our schools. I've heard all the arguments for teachers to be armed, and while this bill was significantly changed on this topic, I am still not persuaded. I am glad, however, that the plan in this bill is not mandatory, which means it will be up to locally elected officials.
The governor said he's working on a plan for any county that chooses not to arm faculty members in schools to try and reallocate that money for school resource officers. Meanwhile, we can't fail to point out that there were a lot of Parkland parents and families who objected to the governor signing this bill. They objected to anything that brought more guns into schools. Noah Pransky, 10 Investigates.
And we want to hear from you about this. What do you think about the governor signing the School Safety Act? Do you think this bill was a good compromise? Many of you have said on Facebook and Twitter that this is a political move, pointing to a Senate run. Some, including President Trump, have alluded to Scott taking on Senator Bill Nelson in 2020. Scott has not yet definitely announced a campaign. Go to WTSP.com/vote now. We're going to share your results coming up a little later in the show.